July 14, 2022. What was supposed to be a normal weekend picnic turned into something none of them were prepared to explain. The plan was simple. For college friends, Ehsan Malik, Bilal Khan, Usman Tariq, and Saad Rahman decided to spend a night outside the city. Exams had just ended, and they wanted a break. No crowds. No noise. Just a quiet place where they could relax, cook, and stay overnight. Instead of booking a hotel, they chose something more isolated. A village house listing they found online. It was located far from the main road, surrounded by open land, with no visible neighbors nearby. The price was unusually low for a full property, but that didn't concern them. According to the listing, the house had been used occasionally for short stays. No major reviews. No warnings. Just basic information and a contact number that stopped responding after the booking was confirmed. They didn't think much of it. They reached the location just before sunset. The last part of the journey felt different. The paved road ended nearly 10 minutes before the house, forcing them to drive through a narrow dirt path that cut through dry fields. There were no lights. No signs. No other vehicles. Just silence. When the house finally came into view, the first reaction wasn't excitement. It was hesitation. The structure stood alone. A two-floor building with faded exterior paint and dark windows that reflected almost no light. There was a small courtyard in front, surrounded by a broken boundary wall. The main gate was slightly open, moving slowly with the wind. Bilal was the first to say it. He described the place as off. At the time, the others laughed it off. It was expected. New place. Empty surroundings. Unfamiliar environment. They parked the car and stepped out. That's when they noticed something strange. There were no sounds. No birds. No insects. No distant voices. Even in a rural area, complete silence like that felt unnatural. They entered the house. The main door wasn't locked. It opened easily. Inside, the air felt heavy. Not dusty. Not abandoned. Just still. The furniture was in place. Old but usable. Sofas arranged in the living room. Dining table set in the center. Kitchen stocked with basic utensils. It didn't look abandoned. But it didn't feel lived in either. Saad checked the rooms upstairs. 2 bedrooms. 1 small storage room at the end of the hallway. All doors were closed. Except one. The storage room door was slightly open. He pushed it gently. Inside, it was completely dark. No windows. No light source. Just an empty space. He didn't go in. Something about it felt wrong. He closed the door. That was the first moment any of them felt it. A subtle shift. Not something they could explain. But enough to make them quiet for a few seconds. They moved back downstairs. Started setting up. By the time night fell, things felt normal again. They cooked food. Played music. Talked loudly to fill the silence. For a while, it worked. Until the first sound. Around 10:43 p.m., while they were sitting in the living room, they heard something from upstairs. A clear sound. Like something being dragged. Slowly. Across the floor. All 4 of them stopped talking at the same time. They looked at each other. No one moved. Then it stopped. Complete silence again. Usman tried to explain it. Old house. Wooden structure. Temperature changes. It made sense. At least on the surface. But Ehsan noticed something. The sound didn't come from the hallway. It came from the room at the end. The storage room. The one that had been slightly open. That's when Bilal suggested something simple. Let's just check. They all went upstairs together. No one wanted to go alone. The hallway was darker now. The single bulb flickered slightly. They reached the end. The storage room door was open again. Wider than before. None of them had opened it. They stopped. No one said anything. The air felt different. Heavier. And then, from inside the room, they heard it again. Something moving. They didn't enter the room immediately. For a few seconds, all four of them just stood there, staring into the darkness inside the storage room. No one spoke. The sound had stopped again. Bilal was the first to move. Slowly, carefully, he stepped forward and pushed the door open completely. The room was empty. No furniture. No boxes. No windows. Just bare walls and a concrete floor. Hassan turned on his phone flashlight and pointed it inside. The beam moved across the floor, then the walls, then the ceiling. Nothing. Usman stepped in. Then Saad. Within seconds, all four of them were inside the room. Still nothing. The silence returned. And just as they were about to step out, the door behind them slammed shut. Hard. The sound echoed through the entire house. For a moment, no one reacted. It happened too fast. Then Hassan rushed to the door and pulled it open. It opened easily. No resistance. No lock. They stepped out into the hallway. No one was there. No wind. No explanation. That was the moment everything changed. They didn't say it directly, but all four of them felt the same thing. They were no longer comfortable in that house. They went back downstairs. Turned off the music. Sat quietly for a few minutes. Then Bilal said it. Let's just leave. It made sense. But Hassan checked his phone. No signal. Usman tried his. Same result. Saad went outside to check. Still nothing. Complete network loss. That wasn't unusual for a remote area. But the timing felt wrong. They decided to wait. Maybe the signal would come back. Maybe they were just overthinking. They stayed inside. Around 12:26 a.m., something else happened. The lights flickered. Once. Then again. And then, the entire house went dark. Complete blackout. For a few seconds, there was nothing. No light. No sound. Just darkness. Then one by one, their phone flashlights turned on. The house looked different now. Shadows deeper. Corners darker. Everything felt closer. Saad suggested checking the main switch. He walked toward the electrical panel near the kitchen. The others stayed behind. They could hear him moving. Opening something. Then, silence. Too long. A.E. Saad. Hassan called out. No response. Bilal stood up. Saad. Nothing. Usman picked up his flashlight and moved toward the kitchen. The panel was open. The switches were normal. But Saad wasn't there. He had disappeared. There was no other exit from that side of the house. No back door. No open window. Just walls. They searched immediately. Kitchen. Living room. Outside. Upstairs. Nothing. It was like he had never been there. Hassan's voice started to shake. This isn't normal, Bilal tried to stay calm. He's messing with us. But even he didn't sound convinced. Then, from upstairs, they heard footsteps. Running. Fast. From one end of the hallway to the other. And then, a voice. Clear this time. Saad's voice. Don't come up. All three of them froze. Because the voice didn't sound like it was calling for help. It sounded wrong. Flat. Almost emotionless. Like something trying to sound like him. Usman slowly stepped back. Bilal whispered, "That's not him." And then, the footsteps started again. But this time, they weren't just upstairs. They were above them. On the roof. Running. Back and forth. Faster. Louder. Like something circling the house. That's when Hassan made the decision. We're leaving. Right now. They grabbed their things. Keys. Phones. Flashlights. They ran outside. Got into the car. Hassan turned the ignition. The engine didn't start. He tried again. Nothing. No sound. No response. The car was dead. Completely. And then, from inside the house, the front door slowly closed on its own. By the time the car failed to start, the situation had already crossed into something none of them could rationalize anymore. Hassan tried the ignition repeatedly, pressing harder each time as if force alone could bring the engine back to life, but there was no response, no sound, no vibration, nothing. The dashboard remained completely dead. Behind them, the house stood in silence, its front door now fully closed, as if something inside had just sealed it from within. For a few seconds, none of them spoke. The only thing they could hear was their own breathing and the faint wind moving across the empty fields. Bilal was the first to step out of the car. He didn't say anything, just looked back at the house, trying to process what had just happened. Usman followed, scanning the surroundings as if expecting to see Saad somewhere outside, but there was nothing, no movement, no sound, no sign that anyone else was there. Hassan finally stepped out as well, holding the car keys tightly in his hand, his focus shifting from the vehicle to the house. That's when they all noticed it at the same time. One of the upstairs windows was open. It hadn't been opened before. The curtain inside that window moved slightly, even though there was no strong wind, and for a brief moment, something shifted behind it. Not clearly enough to identify, not long enough to confirm, but enough to make all three of them step back instinctively. Bilal whispered that they needed to leave on foot, but before they could decide anything, a sound came from inside the house again, this time louder, clearer, and impossible to ignore. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Moving quickly across the upper floor. Then stopping directly above the entrance. And then, silence. The kind of silence that feels intentional. Hassan made the call immediately. They weren't going back inside. Happened to Saad, they couldn't risk staying there any longer. The nearest road was at least a 10-minute walk through the fields, and even without signal, that was their only option. They grabbed what they could carry and moved away from the house, not running, but walking fast enough to keep distance between themselves and whatever was behind them. For the first few minutes, nothing followed. No sound. No movement. Just the crunch of dry soil under their feet. But as they moved further away, Usman slowed down slightly. He turned his head back toward the house, as if something had caught his attention. Hassan asked him what happened, but Usman didn't answer immediately. He just kept staring at the house in the distance. Then he said it. "There's someone standing there." Hassan and Bilal turned back. The house was barely visible now, reduced to a dark shape against the horizon. But near the entrance, something did look different. A vertical shape. Still. Unmoving. It wasn't clear enough to identify as a person, but it wasn't part of the structure either. They didn't wait to confirm. They kept walking. Faster this time. After what felt longer than it should have, they finally reached the main road. The moment they stepped onto it, their phones picked up signal again. Almost instantly. No delay. As if nothing had ever been wrong. Hassan tried the car key remotely out of habit, nothing happened. They didn't go back. Instead, they flagged down the first vehicle they saw and left the area without looking back again. Saad was reported missing that same night. Authorities were contacted the next morning. When the police arrived at the location, the house was exactly as it had been left. The front door was open. The lights were still off. No signs of forced entry. No signs of struggle. The car, however, started immediately. No mechanical issue was found. Inside the house, everything appeared normal. Except for one detail. The storage room upstairs was locked. From the inside. There was no key. No visible latch. No mechanism that could explain how it had been secured. It was forced open later. The room was empty. Completely. No Saad. No objects. Nothing. The case was eventually marked as an open missing person report. No suspects. No confirmed timeline. No explanation. But one detail remained in the statement Hassan gave. When they were leaving the house, he had looked back one last time. And for a brief second, he was sure of something. The figure standing near the entrance wasn't just watching them leave. It was counting. And there were only 3 of them. Happened to Saad, they couldn't risk staying there any longer. The nearest road was at least a 10-minute walk through the fields, and even without signal, that was their only option. They grabbed what they could carry and moved away from the house, not running, but walking fast enough to keep distance between themselves and whatever was behind them. For the first few minutes, nothing followed. No sound. No movement. Just the crunch of dry soil under their feet. But as they moved further away, Usman slowed down slightly. He turned his head back toward the house, as if something had caught his attention. Hassan asked him what happened, but Usman didn't answer immediately. He just kept staring at the house in the distance. Then he said it. "There's someone standing there." Hassan and Bilal turned back. The house was barely visible